Welcome to Open Studio. I'm Yaz Banks, and today Jack sits down with Laura Palmer, freelance senior digital designer and Shillington graduate. In this episode, Jack and Laura discuss the evolution of digital design, balancing personal style with industry expectations, and the importance of process in creative work. They also explore where inspiration comes from, how designers can make the most of the new tools and technologies, and what it takes to stay creative in a fast-changing industry. This is Open Studio with Laura Palmer.
So, welcome back to Open Studio. I'm Jack Trotman, and today I'm joined by Laura Palmer, senior digital designer and current freelancer, working with some brilliant studios, including Koto, How and Raw Materials. She's also a Shillington graduate, and full disclosure, I taught her. So this could go one of two ways. Laura, it's really good to have you here.
So good to be here. Excited to chat.
Yes. So you're joining us from Lisbon today?
I am, yes.
Yeah. What's a typical Lisbon Friday evening like?
Typical Friday Lisbon evening is probably a sunset beer at one of the Miradoro viewpoints.
Oh my God.
It's a nice slow pace, and the sun is out today. It's hot, so I will be having a beer as soon as not as soon as we finish it, but within 3 hours, I'd say.
If we could just wrap this up so I can get outside and just enjoy myself, that'd be brilliant. And obviously, you've joined us on this call as, a representative of the design industry, but also a representative from Shillington graduate point of view. And I always think, obviously, my time being a teacher at Shillington, I've taught a fair amount of people, but the one thing that's always amazing me is where people end up and the different places people end up designing, and then also the different types of design people end up doing. I think, you studied 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that?
I think 5 years ago, almost 6, maybe.
Yeah. So if you imagine 5 or 6 years ago, what digital design looked like then, we were probably teaching you stuff that is now so out of date, because obviously we change the course every 3 months, right? So I think I was even teaching you Sketch.
We learned Sketch, yeah.
Yeah. Apologies for that. I think that maybe 3 months later we actually switched to Figma. So
I think during my first job, I had to learn Figma on the job, and I was like, "What's this software?"
Is it not the same but different, or was it like pretty different?
Oh, loosely, yeah.
Yeah, loosely. I mean, I always think this about programs are just programs, but like the thinking and like the process is actually what makes you good and like able to then, if you didn't have that stuff, then being thrown a whole new program day one like Figma, you would know where to start. But I suppose you probably like had stuff to fall back onto. You could actually you could think, right?
To be completely honest, when I was at Shillington, I was like, I'm not doing digital design.
I remember. I know you were very vocal about that. It's very difficult to teach you when you're so vocal about how much you hate.
It was on Sketch. I was like, I don't like this. I'm not using this. This is bullshit. Like, let's go back to the branding stuff. Yeah, I really didn't want to do it, but that's because I think I had a very narrow understanding of what it involves. I think it was very much I had a very narrow mindset.
Because also if when you're not when I was an illustrator, that's what I thought I was going to be. I had a tutor during my art foundation course that said, it wasn't quite like this, but let's just imagine this scenario. He's like, "Hey kid, do you want a career?" And I was like, "Sure do." He said, if you want a career, you should choose graphic design, because if you want to be an illustrator, you need like a really distinct style. You need to have contacts with publishers, and frankly, because you are who you are, you're not going to get the opportunities that someone else will. And I was like, "What do you mean by that?" And they're like, "Because there's nothing about you that's like interesting as like a story that's going." And I was like, okay, I also know what you're saying here is as well. Like, I'm not like, I'm not sort of providing like any representation here. I'm just like another, like, I didn't have a beard at that point, but like, I'll just be another white guy with a beard and glasses. Like, I actually I get that. And I actually think that's a good thing that's the advice I got at that stage, because it was like, the industry wants different. They don't want just like another Quentin Blake. It's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
And to be fair, that is who I was ripping off massively as an illustrator. So, and I still do. But I think, then going into design, it was like, oh, it's just logos, isn't it? It's just branding, right? That's what everyone thinks. Probably still do. When you tell people you're a digital designer, what do they think that is?
Literally. Well, I think, yeah. I mean, my granny, she often asks me what I do, and I explain this. I mean, this is like obviously an example of someone who's much older and less digitally savvy, but she just doesn't understand it. And like, I try and explain, and I'm like, the things that you do on your computer, and she's like, but what about your drawings? Are you going to start making cards again? I'm like, cards. She's like, oh, your greetings cards, and I'm like, it's just, yeah. I think like obviously that's one example, but my friends they, when I show them some of the websites I designed, they're like, oh, that's cool. Like I didn't realize you could have like 3D on a website or like an immersive website, because the websites that we're sort of consuming day to day are kind of all the same.
Yeah.
And they're quite boring. And I think that's why I was like, I don't know if I want to go into this area of design, because everything, well, even now, 5 years on, is increasingly looking more similar. And I didn't think it was as creative as branding. So I was kind of like, oh, I don't think that it's for me. And then actually have been able to work on some really like conceptual projects where we've done like also digital branding. So it's been like from nothing to a website or an like online, whatever it is, exhibition experience. And there's something really cool about like creating literally something like this from absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And so often, like, we work on branding projects and we create these beautiful logos and these lovely colors and whatever, but we don't actually apply them in many ways that people engage with the website so much. It's like when you hear a brand name, like you look it up and that's kind of the first thing you see. And I think a lot of people forget that. We spend a lot of time and I do a lot of branding as well, but as brand designers, crafting these wonderful guidelines, and then you kind of forget that actually so much of the sort of interaction with people in this brand is online.
If you think about digital design compared to other parts of design, it's still in its infancy, because it's only really been around it's not really been around for that long, beyond like the ability to like do something beyond a really bland looking website hasn't really been a very long time where we've been able to do that as easily as maybe.
Yeah.
And when I say easily now, I just mean like it's more I guess it's more accessible for someone to like be able to do a cool thing on their website that isn't just a stock template.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of quite frustratingly oversimplified demos out there on the internet now, being like 5 steps how you can use AI to make a cool website that does this thing. But also, I think what that's missing is what you're talking about, which is it has to start from the brand, but then it has to be part of the strategy of how this brand's showing up. And so kind of like, yeah, we can put a cool trick into it, and yeah, we can probably do this thing really easily. We can probably like no code it or vibe code it or whatever, but like it has to be there for a reason. So yeah. I guess like from your point of view as a digital designer, are you having to fight the temptation to do something because it's exciting to you versus do something that's right for the project?
Always. Like I think an ongoing struggle is the tension between like personal taste and style and like industry expectations and client requirements. Like that's a daily struggle. And I often, you get a quite tight timeline to produce a website, so you do just like default to the patterns and the flows and the the things that have been tried and tested and work, just because like that that's what the client's gonna appreciate essentially. But then it's like, oh, that's not really going to be a portfolio piece for me because I haven't like pushed the boundaries. And I've worked at a couple of agencies where like they really push like testing what a website can do and can be. So like being super experimental with like the navigation and how you interact with those labels that you normally just see at the top in a stack. And that was a really cool experience because like I'm used to being told to strip back my ideas within digital design because they're too creative or too like high effort for the developer. It's like a constant battle. But this agency was like, no, like stop what you're doing. Like, let's do something that people are going to land on and be like, wow, that's really cool. Like, this is an unusual website. And those are the best projects really, because you actually stop thinking about it like a website. And this is something that like I have started to do more since that experience, and also because I'm lucky enough to have a studio space with a lot of other artists, and like I'm working alongside other graphic designers, but also other artists and set designers, and I've got like exposure to a bunch of creatives who are all like doing different processes and take inspiration from different things. That I've started to kind of like, when I'm starting a project and you're doing your research, rather than being like, okay, let's go on awards or let's go on Pinterest and let's look at some websites that exist, is to be like, right, let's not look at a website. Let's look at like yesterday I was looking at the back of a spray can bottle because the typography was really cool. And I was like, oh, maybe I could use that on a navigation, or like trying to like step away from the category you're in and like get inspiration elsewhere. And like, I think this is a real issue with the design industry, is just like how much noise there is, how much stuff exists.
Yes.
Like we have access to so many inspiration platforms, Pinterest, Arena, whatever. Like there's a inspiration platform for like every kind of design. And like I'm guilty of it, and I still go on Arena and Pinterest every day because like it's easy and because you want to like get access to stuff. But it does just mean that we are churning out the same kinds of work. And every branding project I've worked on, and you are gathering like references for like a logo or like typography, and the references that you gather are of other logos and other typography styles that people have used in brands. And I think like something I'm trying to do now, which I actually have to credit one of my good friends who's a designer here, because she like kind of inspired me to do this, is like get a book, go to a library. Like she starts her project away from her laptop, and like she drags me around some shops around Lisbon. We'll go to like a record store, we'll go to like a library, we'll go to like just random places with objects and things that have, interesting type or interesting like colors, whatever. And she uses that as her like sort of starting point, and makes the process way more fun.
It really does. I think, well, because I know your background, before you got into design, you were at Leeds University, and you were doing, is it art history, liberal arts degree?
Yeah.
I guess in history of art, though, I guess in anything like that, you see how trends go through waves in time, and everyone starts copying. We've done this through history. Someone's like put their hand in some clay, and they put their hand on a cave wall, and someone else has gone, "Oh, well, that looks pretty cool. I might do that as well." And then they do that, and then they go, "Oh yeah, but I'm actually going to put my hand in this slightly different coloured thing, do that," and then before you know it, everyone's kind of doing the same thing. But there'll be one person in that cave who is like, "Screw you guys, I'm going for a walk," and they get inspired by something else, and they come back with like a leaf, and they're like doing leaf prints or whatever. That's you right now. But I suppose that's just like a human thing, isn't it? We almost like seek some sense of comfort in sort of repeating something, like, and yet it also, whilst it's comforting, it's also like really restricting at the same time. But I often think that it always goes back to a lack of an idea. If you don't have an idea or something that's driving something, some way that you can like measure your success, like check in on it every day with this project, like, am I still doing this? If you don't have that, that's where you're just going, I'm just going to get everyone else's work to design this for me.
That's
it's the danger.
Like, it's so easy to like find something that just looks cool, and you think visually like your client or whoever it might be would like the project, would like it, sorry, would like what it looks like its form, whatever, and you're like, oh cool, like, let's kind of use that as inspiration. You kind of like lose the concept and you just like get distracted visually by what things look like. And I think like now one thing I've noticed as a designer is people are like less impressed by the thing that you produce, because it's easy to produce something that looks good now, because we have so many tools that can do it for us at a click of a button. So that I can create like a really sick 3D animation using a tool, and it's going to look cool. And 5 years ago, I would be like, "That's sick! Which 3D designer's done that?"
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Props to you, because you know the platform. You have this amazing skill that's very hard to learn." I'd be like, "I love that." Now, because it's so easy, people are less impressed by the things you can produce. So I think like it does mean that you have to have like a really strong idea and ability to communicate the thing and what it's doing, and also just on that, like, it is just way less fun pressing a button.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, it sucks. And like, it's definitely useful because there's some parts of the process that people want to automate because they hate them. And I do that a lot because I don't really like UX design so much. And sometimes I might use tools to help me there. I think like, yeah, it's not satisfying. Like, I remember being a junior designer and like trying to learn how to do something for a project and like watching endless videos, like watching, loads of After Effects tutorials on how to do something, and then like struggling a lot and finding it like very frustrating. But once I got to the end, I was like, that's so satisfying. I've actually like learned how to do something. And I think like we're not learning to do stuff enough. We're just trying to find a tool to do it for us. And those tools are super useful for some things, but I think like, yeah, it's just making sure that you're using them for the bits that you don't like and still trying to, encourage a more natural process for the stuff that you enjoy. Because having ups and downs and like finding something really frustrating and then actually like coming out the other side and being like, cool, I'm proud of with what I produce is like so satisfying. And
do you ever just jump into like, I don't know, programs or like skills or areas that you've got no experience in just to try stuff out? Like, when was the last time you just opened up a new program?
I opened up Blender, and I've done Blender and Cinema 4D like a couple times.
Yeah.
And been like, I don't think I can do this now. And then like, I mean, I'm guilty of doing it, right? Like, I was doing a branding project recently and I wanted to create a 3D asset, and I just did it through using Flora. And then like, I think I used Midjourney to make it spin or something. And I was like, oh, if this was 3 years ago, I actually would have sat down and probably taught a new skill and taken maybe 2 days to do it. But like, I don't have 2 days to do it because I'm under time pressure. So it's a balance, because like we're able to create these cool things, easily. It might not be as fun, but sometimes like we actually do need to do the efficient thing because we're under pressure. And one thing I notice a lot now is like when I'm having interviews with agencies and they're asking me about like what projects I've worked on and what I'm strong at. The question that always crops up is normally towards the end is like, and what tools do you work with? And what AI tools do you know? And I'm like, I knew this was coming. And like, I'll say a few tools, but honestly, I don't use them as much as I think people that work in just brand do, because I think there's a lot more like image generation, whatever it might be. And it's like I'm getting asked it more and more, and I'm like, there's just such a like drive for efficiency in these agencies. So I think it's hard because like on the one hand, like we are expected to be able to learn these things and to apply them. So I say let's not use them and let's like go back to pen and paper, but we do have to and we are expected to.
But do you think that because there's a efficient way of doing something, there's also a long-winded way of doing something, which the joy of doing that is what makes making anything exciting.
Yeah.
But also I've seen myself recently do things where I always, I don't know, I guess beginning of my design career, I was so aware of my procrastination tendencies. where I would be a junior in a studio, brief would come in, I'd be like doing, not obviously overseeing the whole brief, but like being part of a small part of it, which is maybe like, let's generate some name ideas for this brand or whatever it might be. Like, Jack, you come up with an angle or whatever. And then I'd spend a day just dicking around, just like thinking that was how I was going to come up. Just like, I don't know, going down endless sort of rabbit holes. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the public library in such and such a place. Like, see you later. I'm off. Like, okay. But then coming back to the studio and being like, I have nothing to show for that. And then feeling stressed by that. But then maybe later that night, the idea just being like, ping, and just arriving, or just it happens. And I suppose even when you don't have something to show for that procrastination or for that like really broad research moment, I think we owe it to ourselves as an industry to add that to our project roadmaps, to be like to clients and say, yeah, we'll get you this project, but really openly and honestly, we have like a 1 day, 2 day part of our process, which is all about just like, you won't see anything, but we're going to be immersing ourselves deeper into the brief.
I think that's so important. And that, like, when you were saying you showed up and you were like, I don't have anything to show, like, that resonated so much with me, because I would just think back to numerous occasions when I was a junior and like I was trying to come up with ideas, and like I might have been like sketching stuff. I remember at Shillington we did those like word map exercises at the start of brief, and like I still do that. Like,
define, describe, visualize.
Yeah, I still do a lot of those exercises, and I remember like doing that and like being really frustrated because like I just wasn't really like happy with it, and other designers had like started jumping into the tools and creating stuff, and I was just still on my word maps, and I was like, oh, like this is frustrating. And then again, like similar to what you say, like you just have like a 10-minute period where like it all falls into place. And I think now like we've kind of forgotten that that's how things happen. Like that's a natural process. Like it's not just like, cool idea, go. Like it never happens like that. It's like a really difficult process where you have like really shit days, and you're like,
well, you only have shit days if the culture doesn't allow for it.
Exactly.
I think if, you know, like you mentioned about being a student then as well at Shillington, like I really vividly remember that part of you being diligent to the point where, as you said, you know, people in your class are maybe seeming like they're ahead of you on a project because you're like, well, they've already started their mood boards or something, but I'm still doing this thing. But it's actually, you know, you then get to the end of the project, and the point is not the final outcome. The point is it going somewhere? Does this project have a life cycle? But also, like, can it stand up to questioning? If you put this in, I've got a 4-year-old and a nearly 2-year-old. If you put this in front of them, and they asked you what it is, could you explain it to them so they understand it? Because if you can't, then it's not a good idea, I think. We've established that we both went to Leeds University, and you were doing history of art, liberal arts. At that point in time, what was your like career prospects? Like what was expected of you? What was everyone else on your course doing next?
So a year prior, I was doing my art foundation year in Falmouth, and I'd always done like fine art. That was my kind of like, that was my expected trajectory. Then when I was at school in my last year, I decided to apply for uni, like at Leeds, with a like deferral so that I could do my foundation. I always like had the place, like, so I was kind of like, oh, maybe I'll switch and do like graphic design or fine art or whatever. And I actually ended up keeping the place at Leeds and going, which was best thing I've ever done, I think. But I always knew like that I wanted a like creative job where I was like on the tools, but I thought it was going to be like me doing fine art, and maybe I was going to try and be an artist, and I was like, I don't think this is going to work. Like during that year I was like, this is tough. Like it was very frustrating. I found that on art foundation, the projects that I had where I had a brief I loved, And then I kind of thought about graphic design. I went to a couple of open days, and my dad was like really pushing for me to do graphic design. He went to art school and he was like, yeah, why don't you give it a go? And I was like, well, I don't think I want to do this.
Yeah.
But that's because I think like, and I mean, I've talked about this a lot when people say like, oh, why did you do Shillington? And I'm like, because it's so like set up for the industry. But a lot of the graphic design open days that I went to at unis were like very theoretical. It was a lot of like, sort of theory on the printing press and cutting out newspapers and making collages. And it was like, not really, I was like, I don't really understand how this is going to translate into a career. And I think even a lot of the like professors are kind of like pretty old school, and they know Photoshop, but like they're not really like teaching you the new tools. And obviously this was like 10 years ago, and I'm sure things have changed a lot, but I didn't see how that was going to correlate to a career. So then I kept my place at Leeds, went to Leeds. And then during that time, I started making posters for my friend who's a DJ. I feel like this is such a classic like way into graphic design. Yeah. Started making posters, taught myself like After Effects and Illustrator, and I was like, I would love to be able to do this for a job. Like this would be really cool. But meanwhile, I was doing art history, and I'm in these lectures and I'm like chatting to the girls either side of me, and they're like, oh, like, so have you applied for like Sotheby's internship? And I was like, no. Like, I know. And like the expectation was that I would work in the art market, and like I would go and try and get an internship at these big art houses. So I was like, that is literally everything I hate about art.
I tell you a good use of AI that you could do today is to visualize what you would have looked like and where you would have gone to now if you'd done that journey.
Yeah. I remember it's like cropping up so much, and I was like, that is just so sad that like I do not want to go and like sell art to people. Like that's everything I disagree with. Art should be like accessible.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing art history because I'm interested in the theory, and I'm interested in the like political intersection with art, and I'm interested in like all of that. I'm not interested in like selling it. But that was the expectation because it was commercial.
Mad.
So then I was like, fuck this. I want to try and do graphic design. But again, in my third year, this is when COVID just like started, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't go back to uni. I don't want to do a master's. I can't do an undergrad. Like, I guess I could keep teaching myself. And I was actually in the library, and one of my friends was sat next to me. And he was like, oh, my brother's a graphic designer. And I was like, cool, like, tell me how he got into it. And he went to Bristol, I think, maybe he studied geography, I'm not sure. And I was like, how did he get from that to that? And he's like, oh, he did a graphic design course called Shillington. And I was like, what is this? Tell me now. And he was the one who actually like, told me about it and sort of said like, this is you should do it.
Are you still in touch with this friend? Is this like a...
so this is my best friend's partner, and his older brother went to Shillington like many years ago.
Yeah,
that's the reason I found out about it. And then again, like admittedly, I didn't really know what to expect.
Yeah, what was your perception? Because I've also got because I obviously came to Shillington from a teaching perspective. But when you saw it, what was your first? Obviously, you've heard it word of mouth, but even then, what did you first think?
So for me, like looking at the work was the main thing. And also this guy who did it was very talented, and he sent me his portfolio, and I was like, okay, that's really cool. Like I was very impressed by all the work. So that was the first thing that I was like, that would be amazing if I could learn, how to do all this. But I didn't really know what to expect in terms of like the way that the course is structured. And like, I don't even think I went to an open day, to be honest. I think I just did it.
Yeah.
I think I was at home as COVID. I couldn't even get a job in a bar because it was like just tier 4, whatever it was. Those like, and I was like, I need to go for it. And it was the best thing I've ever done, really, because I mean, it's a big financial investment, but I think I was able to get a job really quite quickly. So, a lot of my friends were struggling for like 6 months, not able to get a job or whatever. And actually, like for me, investing that money and doing the course, and then the speed at which I was able to sort of get a job in the industry was well worth it.
So you like graduated university in that same year. So it was like graduate in July, start Shillington in September, and then
exactly. Yeah. And then by January I had an internship. So it was like,
Crazy.
pretty like quick progression. And I honestly think if I didn't do Shillington, I would probably still be working in like a creative, well, it wouldn't be that creative, but like a creative industry, like company. I don't know what kind, but like doing maybe a more like
adjacent to
like just part of it, not being on the tools, and probably always being like, oh, I wish I could be on the tools.
A lot of the people that do our course are people just like that, who are kind of working in the industry in some way, and they just want to. They've seen what designers do, and they're like, actually, that looks like that's more me. Because my perception of Shillington before I remember feeling really skeptical. I remember thinking like, how, but it was based on jealousy, because I did it at university.
3 years. You're like, how can they do that in 3 months?
Yeah, I did 3 years, and then my first job, somehow I was appointed as head of design.
Okay.
And I didn't even know how to I didn't even know how to properly like set up grids in InDesign, but I was like working on editorial.
Wow.
Mad. I lasted in that job for about 3 months before I quit, because I just didn't know what I was doing. And then I switched into being an art worker at first, because I knew, again, I feel like I just blagged my way into that, because I just I'd picked up some stuff in that job. I was like, well, at least I know how to set stuff up for print. And then from there it's just a series of really staying up until midnight, just opening up all the designers' files, being like, what's that? Oh my God, what is this? Just kind of figuring it all out. So then when it get cut to I don't know, 8-9 years later, and I'm established, I'm a designer, and then I see this poster in the tube down underground being like, you can be a designer in 3 months, kid. And I was like, what the hell? But then I did a guest lecture to a class, and they were I think I just remember the questions that they asked were amazing. Really unexpected questions about the process of doing stuff. Everyone was asking me about sustainable material choices and stuff like that. When you're making these, I was like, no one ever asked this sort of stuff. And then I saw some of their portfolios, and I think I remember thinking surely the teachers have done these for them. This can't be true. And I think it was only until I actually started teaching on the course that I really saw how it works, I suppose. Because I think just from my kind of that feeling of jealousy, or that feeling of kind of this, there's an establishment that it's there, you earn it. I was definitely one of those people.
I definitely have had that reaction from a lot of other graphic designers that have studied for 3 or 4 years. There's a bit of you're a Shillington grad, there is definitely that kind of slightly oh, I'm not sure about you. But I think one thing I had developed so quickly, because it's set up in the sort of brief agency format, was just working in a way that is expected immediately from I went into this internship and I knew exactly what to do when I got a brief at the start, because we've done it so many times. It was drilled into me. And obviously, design and that baseline skill is a big part of it, but it's only 50%. There's another 50% there, which is your attitude to it, your process, your ability to work with other people, the way that you think conceptually, the way that you communicate. Those skills are so important, and really were developed. And maybe potentially, I don't know, because I didn't study graphic design at university, but I think there's a lot more kind of theoretical sort of thinking perhaps, and it's less kind of this is how you will work in the industry.
There is that. I mean, I definitely felt that difference, but I also think it was a case of, I went to university when I was 19, and all that was on my mind was
pints,
and trying to be a I was in a band, and I was getting in the music scene. I was I literally went to university because the other people I was playing in the band with went to university. It was it was absolutely, and it was student loans. So it was whatever.
Yeah, you are too young to really I missed a lot of lectures.
Yeah. I used to call my mate and he'd sign me in so I wouldn't get a bad attendance.
Same, and be like, oh, can you, this is before like recordings, and I'd be like, oh, take notes for me, like send photos of your notes.
Yeah.
And like it worked, I got through university and I managed to get a first, but like I
smashed it
a lot. And I definitely wasn't. Now I'm like, oh my God, the things I would do to be at university to study. I would literally love to learn again.
Yeah.
I was definitely like that at Shillington. I was absolutely like, I was working so hard. Like I didn't have a social life for 3 months.
I think you were quite disappointed whenever you weren't sitting at the front as well. I remember.
I was just there. I was gutted. And then then it was online, and then I'll be in my dressing gown.
Yeah, but still, I think the difference between in person and online is in person people put their like professional guard up a bit more. Online, that sort of barrier goes, I find, and so even like if we were recording this in a studio, I think we'd probably behave slightly differently. I think we would. I think we'd be a bit more aware that like there's a camera and stuff. But and that I found has been actually even more rewarding, because one of the most important, I mean, I don't know how you feel about getting feedback and how that works, but like I find it's all based on the relationship that you have. Like you can give better feedback when you've got a stronger relationship with that person. When you don't, it's often feedback can be, it's not always negative, it's positive. People think feedback means I'm going to pick holes in your work. It's not, but I think feedback can be really tough to take when there's no understanding of who that person is. And I also think that like the more of an oversharing kind of relationship there is, then the easier it is to then let go of ideas as well. So I think the more you kind of instantly get to know someone and build up a relationship, they can honestly say to you, I'm showing you this work, I want feedback from you, I'm going to be really clear with what kind of feedback I'm looking for, and the feedback you get is going to be the right kind of feedback, and there will be no sense of why did they say that, what a dick.
So you think that being online is easier to deliver that kind of feedback?
I think so. I think so.
Because I was gonna say, I think the like us loitering in that room and like being like, oh, I don't like. I mean,
but
then I don't. But I think you're right. It's like you're sat at your desk and like it's quite quiet, and there's definitely moments of like it's pressure. You feel pressure. I think one thing that I'm obviously fully remote now because I'm freelance, but like those moments where you're frustrated, like you talked about earlier, where you're like, I'm so stressed, I haven't got any ideas, and like I've got to show something to the creative director at the end of the day. Those moments where you are like actually not in the room and you can like take yourself off for a walk, or like maybe try a process that is different without feeling judged, is like so important. There's definitely times when being in person is amazing, and I do miss that a lot, but I think there's just less pressure. And I work very well. I work well under pressure, but like when I don't have like someone watching over me, I create much better work.
Because you're otherwise second guessing. Because sometimes sometimes you're putting stuff forward because you're trying to predict what someone's going to say or think. I do think there's something to be said when you're working remotely, like you are now, and if you're freelancing right now, is to try to just book in, like just having like 5-minute calls with other random designers that you know, because you still want to feel connected, and if you're not, then it can feel quite like a strange,
definitely
like surreal feeling of being like, what am I doing? Like this sort of room I'm up in the attic in my house, it's like it's a self-contained creative bubble.
That is so important. Like I have this studio space. I'm sat next to 2 graphic designers every day, and we're all working on different stuff, and it's like we're doing very different kinds of work, but like even just having a second pair of eyes, and having a second pair of eyes that actually has a bit of a different perspective is super helpful. And me and my old creative director, who's also freelance now, we always like send each other our work, and like, you know, it's definitely super important to keep that up, because I think also as a freelancer, like, because people don't know you so well, I think there is again that fear of like feedback, and maybe people aren't being as honest with you, and they're like, I don't know, it's definitely difficult because every different client and project and team is like so different between the agencies, that I feel like I'm adapting every time to a new process.
Yeah.
And I think people are like very polite to me. Some agencies less so, but people are very polite, and I'm like, do they actually like what I'm doing, or are they just being nice? Like,
When you were a kid, did you move around a lot, or did you stay in one school the whole time?
I stayed in one school the whole time.
Yeah, because I feel like I moved around a lot. I like went to lots. I like started in Edinburgh, York, then I ended up in Oxford, and like I think that experience, it teaches you that like how you have to try to really quickly like not assert yourself, but how you have to sort of, it's like suddenly it's a whole new environment. But
Yeah,
importantly, how can I try to remain myself? And that I think is the most difficult thing, because I
yeah,
think suppression can come in, and then as soon as you feel like you're suppressing your true self, then you're like, I can't. Being a freelancer, they're great, because then you're like, well, it's only a 3 month project, so I'm
this
all
is the
right.
thing.
I'm all right just pretending to be this like really professional person,
Yeah.
like with these really sort of boring professional people. Not that any of your clients are, but like imagine that could be the
No,
case.
it is hard. It's definitely something that I struggle with a bit, and I've actually now got into quite a good rhythm of like taking like at least 2 or 3 weeks off. Well, not off, but I don't book back to back contracts,
Yeah,
because I'll have 3 weeks between where I do like smaller projects with friends. I'm actually working a lot with Elle, if you remember Elle.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so, and we do like fun little projects together, which is like, you know, our own process. No one's telling us what to do. And then that will finish, and we're like, okay, new contract, new process, like feeling like I've had that reset and I can go into it with like a fresh mind. But like the process varies so much between agencies that it can be like quite exhausting. Like, not only are you having to prove yourself at the start of every contract, but you're having to adapt to a new creative director who's definitely got their own personal tastes and preferences and ways of working, a new team, and also like the expectation around your skill changes a lot. So in bigger agencies, I'm just expected to design and produce. I'm not expected to like ever share or present my ideas, which is something that for the first 4 years of my career, every single piece of design I did, I'd have to present. There was no questioning. Like,
Yeah.
no one would ever present my ideas for me. So that was a skill, and like almost something that was drilled into me. Now, when I worked for some bigger agencies, and like you're just behind a curtain, like no one knows you've done the work,
Yeah.
and the creative director will present for you. It feels quite odd. And like, there's a part of me that's like, this is kind of sweet. Like, I don't have to stress. I don't have to get nervous about calls, whatever. But then like that contract will finish, and then you're thrown into another one with a really small team, and you're like doing all the calls again. And it's like, it's hard to adapt. But then again, you have the benefits of like exposure to processes. And I've learned so much from just seeing how different agencies do things. And I'm sure we're all just like taking bits from one agency and feeding it into the other. And it's all kind of like, you know, becoming more similar. But it is quite
What's
exciting.
what do things look like for you in 5 years in your dream scenario?
You're going to be like, aha, knew
No.
it. No, but I am. I'm at a point where I want to do a bit less digital design now. Thought this point might come. Still, definitely something I enjoy, but I am finding that I've now got to a point where like I'm so comfortable doing it, and like I have such a good process. It's just like I'm not really feeling like, and I know that I can learn stuff and I should learn new stuff, but when I'm doing a contract, I don't have the time to do that because someone's
Yeah.
booking me to do one thing. I'm trying to do different kinds of projects, like do more branding projects, do more like smaller projects with friends. And I would say in 5 years, ideally, I still have like some of those, you know, bigger contract projects, but I'm would love to just work more with friends, working like one thing I just miss is like and again, this really comes from working remotely, but like having a creative community where you can like be a bit more interdisciplinary and like help each other out on different projects. Like I'm a designer, but I've always been a very creative person and really loved like different kinds of crafts. And one thing actually that is quite sad, and I think a lot of people do this, and I speak to a lot of designers who feel the same, but when you're a creative person, you've grown up doing like art or making or whatever your kind of hobby craft might be, when you get a creative job, you don't really feel like you can do that because you're kind of burnt out creatively. So you get to 6 p.m. and you're like, I don't want to pick up my pencil and do a drawing. Like I've done a whole day of like being creative, even though it's a very different kind of creativity. So I just like stopped making art for like 5 years. And then only since being in Lisbon, where I'm around a lot more creative people and I have a studio space and like I have more time as a freelancer, have I started to like put my laptop away. And like the other day, I didn't look at my laptop once and I was just drawing and, you know, playing with paints and inks and stuff. And like that is something I wish I like kept throughout my years of doing design, because now it feels really daunting to like, I'm trying to start painting again. Like every day I'm like, okay, tomorrow I'll do it.
Well, you'll be a different painter to the one you were. That's true.
Probably.
But because obviously like it's just I get the same. I don't have a drum kit anymore, and I'm really gutted about that. But I'm gonna get one again. But I actually don't. I had a drum kit. It was a really old drum kit. I donated it to a school because when we were moving, I was like, I'm not gonna play it, and it's like I wasn't bothered about that. But then, because I haven't played the drums for like, I don't know, nearly 3 years now, what's it going to be like? And I've decided that when I do get a drum kit again, I'm going to start playing it left-handed. Just because I was a right-handed drummer, but like
something new.
Yeah, just because it'll be like learning again, and it'll be like exciting. So and I think I stole that kind of idea from someone else I'd spoken to about time away from something that you're like, you spend hours and hours and hours like perfecting a skill, then something happens in your life that stops you from being able to do it. It's almost like I might have even stolen this idea from a skateboarder who like broke their leg or something like that, you know, one of those things. But like, you know, you can't do the thing anymore, and then you come back at you're a whole different style changes and all that sort of stuff. I think you can apply that to everything. So, you know, like painting, like writing, songwriting, even design, you know, branding. You might come at it from a different angle if you've been not doing branding. Well, I know you have been, but like, how could you just change it up and be different? Just approach it like just be real to yourself and be like, I am a different person now because it's been a few years. So let's not try and be that person. Let's just be this new version of that.
And also, like, there's no expectation. Like, I'm not doing it for anyone else but myself.
Yeah.
And like, this is another thing that I feel like very strongly about, and I struggle with a lot, is like people's like worrying so much about how you're being perceived. So like posting your work online, updating your website, all those things. I really struggle to do those because I find it quite soul destroying, because there's so much comparison of you and your work to other people, but it's also like I find that people are just producing stuff just so they can post something.
Yeah.
Like I'm around people who are like, oh, I need to post, I need to get up by this time. And I'm like, that it's just not authentic. Like, that's not authentic creation or expression. Like you're doing it so someone can consume it. And like I think like now there is a like kind of expectation that if you're creative, and I do think like Instagram and like putting yourself out there is so important, and that is like essentially how I got my first job.
Well, especially early on, right? Especially when you're trying to
early on, later on when you're like, I mean, the position I'm in now, I don't have enough work. I don't feel like I need to be. I don't like social media. I try and spend as much time as I can away from it. But I should probably be posting more, because it would get me new kinds of work and new projects. But I just see a lot of people just doing it for the sake of it. And then again, using AI to produce stuff really quickly, just so that they can share and be present and feel like they're producing something. And it just feels a little bit sad, really.
it's quite an addictive thing. I think it's quite
Yeah,
an addictive
like
tendency thing to just be
yeah,
seeking the constant kind of satisfaction of that, and then getting frustrated because it's never satisfying.
no,
You know, because oh great, 10 million people have seen my video, and then like you put your phone down, and then you're like, ah, nothing's changed.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, here's an idea for your personal branding and website. Get someone else to do it for you.
yeah, that would be nice.
Why do freelancers always have to do their own personal
It's true.
stuff when your
True.
clients don't? So, you know,
Because I have to pay someone to do it.
yeah, but factor it into your like project pricing to be like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
actually going to account for that, and
yeah,
then get someone to do it that's like not a digital designer,
yeah.
just to be like, let's make something different and interesting. So Laura, it's been really good to have this conversation. I've found it genuinely useful for my own thinking about process and my own thinking about like reconnecting with, you know, creativity in all its forms, and that's exactly what we want this series to be about. So, you know, for anyone listening who wants to see Laura's work, we'll obviously have all the details of that available. But Laura, where is the best place to find you?
Probably my website, which needs
Yes.
updating.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to put their hand up to update Laura's website
Yeah,
for
find
her,
me a new website.
she might pay you for it. No, she will. I think if anyone's thinking about their own path into design, I think you can take a lot of inspiration from Laura's. I think, you know, you're someone that's managed to swerve a potential future that wasn't really you, and you did it before it was too late, I think, and it's opened up this whole new world of where you're living now in Lisbon, and this whole community of people that you're working with that you wouldn't have otherwise had if you sort of entered this path. And I think, you know, all these things tend to happen for a reason, and I am excited to see where the next 5 years goes for you, because if you just stop and think for a second, it's only been 5 years since you started this journey. So look where you are now, and look at all the things you've achieved along that way, and all the different like responsibilities that you've taken on. So that times 10, you know, that's what 5 years time is going to be. And probably not by doing anything different to what you're doing now, just by being true to yourself and being like authentic to what you believe in, I think is the key, isn't it?
Let's see.
Let's see.
But no, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat.
Yeah, as always. And I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you soon one day if I make it out to Lisbon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That'd be lovely.
Lovely. Well, enjoy your beer in the sun, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you.
A huge thank you again to Jack and Laura for today's conversation. From navigating ever-changing design landscape to staying authentic in your creative practice, Laura shared some valuable insights into the realities of building a career in digital design and the importance of trusting your process along the way. If you'd like to learn more about Laura and her work, you'll find all the relevant links in the episode description. To stay connected with us at Shillington, head to our website and follow us across social media. And for more conversations with the people shaping the creative industry, keep up to date with Open Studio. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.